This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com. A lot of people have messaged me about this Abdullah the Butcher Talk is Jericho appearance that he did recently, that he has over $4,000 on a GoFundMe from. Full of lies, but I'll just address a few of them since people keep asking me about it. He had I'm going to guess this is his girlfriend who claimed to be called Malika. This is actually a woman named Jocelyn Marshall that's lived with him for about 10 years. He is still married. His wife wants to get a divorce. If he would get the divorce, he would be entitled to half of her assets. But for whatever reason, he doesn't want to get the divorce. But this Jocelyn Marshall, who claims her name is Malika, said he only has a second grade education and cannot read or write. So his parents took him out of school at 2. This is in contradictory to what he said in this interview, where he said he was kicked out of school at 16. So take a look.
They kicked me out of school when I was maybe 16 years old.
So there he is saying he was kicked out of school at 16, which would have put him, I was in, I think, grade 11 when I was 16. So you could be, depending on what month you were born, be in grade 11 or 12 by the time you're 16. That's hardly grade 2. And he did successfully run a business for decades before closing him when we won our lawsuits against him, which, by the way, he is positive for Hep C. I don't know if he got cleared since, but the case did go to court for over a week in Canada. And at various points in time, he did have legal representation. And he did answer mail. He actually did meet with lawyers. He even came to Ottawa at one point for a settlement conference. And he did appeal his 2014 Canadian loss, and he lost that appeal. Then there was another trial in the US in 2016, which he lost. Then he also appealed that, and he actually testified at the American trial at one point. So him and his girlfriend or whatever it is claiming that he never answered any mail and had no idea about any of this is just a load of bull crap. And saying that he needs money for an appeal, well, his American appeal, the last one he did was in 2016, and that was thrown out. 2022 is a little late to appeal an appeal for anyone that knows law. And for him claiming he didn't cut me, and by the way, this is one of the reasons why it was more likely than not that he passed Hep C to me. He was actually found guilty of negligence, assault, and battery because he didn't have permission to cut me with a blade that he had used on himself. And whether he knew he had Hep C at the time or not, he still should have known that cutting someone with a used blade, putting your blood directly into another person's body, is dangerous. And what they brought up in there, why did no one else come out saying he had given them Hep C? I don't know if anyone else has footage of him cutting them with a used blade. He did wrestle Billy Graham in the past. Billy's been public about having Hep C. Bobby Jaggers died from Hep C related stuff. Ivan Koloff, he'd been in the ring with. Ivan had Hep C. Jacques Rougeau, he's wrestled. Jacques Rougeau had Hep C and got cured. So why don't more people come out about having Hep C? Because no good comes of it. It sure as hell didn't help my career. But here's the video of him cutting me where he claims he didn't cut me, which is just foolish to say because he clearly cuts me.
The way I caught it, that was proven in court that it was transmitted, was actually from being cut with a hepatitis C infected razor blade in a professional wrestling match by another wrestler, Abdullah the Butcher, Larry Shreve, without my permission or consent. And no, that's not a normal risk of going into a professional wrestling match. You don't expect to be cut with a hepatitis C infected razor blade with fresh hepatitis C infected blood on it multiple times in a professional wrestling match. That's just not an accepted risk.
So the other thing I'll address, he had some referee with him that we haven't used in Great North Wrestling since around 2009 for a couple of reasons. One, he was stealing. And I don't think he's even worked for many other companies, if any, since he wrestled for us, because he has absolutely zero credibility. He was stealing from other wrestlers' bags. And I believe the last time we used him, he showed up drunk and actually came in to referee a match in his street clothes. So I would go by the Canadian ruling in the Ontario Superior Court of Justice and the ruling in the state of Georgia based on law and factual evidence that was presented in court, rather than Shreve claiming he only has a grade 2 education and can't read or write, where he clearly says in that other interview he was kicked out of school when he was 16. So I'm surprised Chris Jericho would lower himself to try and give this guy any credibility, but $4,000+ good for him. Hopefully he will use that towards getting a divorce from his wife, and his wife is worth a lot of money. If he would get a divorce, he'd be entitled to half of that money. So I wouldn't feel too bad for him. This is where he lives now. It's hardly a slum. So he's one of the best workers in the history of wrestling. I'll give him that. And he's still trying to work people. Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please help me out and like this video. Then click the subscribe and get notifications buttons so you don't miss any of my latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Facebook at The Hannibal TV for more live streams and videos. And while you're at it, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Hannibal TV.